Hi, this is Sonia from Beta Healthcare. This is the third video about working in collaborative mode. Today I would like to demonstrate a scenario that involves two authors working independently on a task. We will have the same users as in the previous video. I will be creating the task. My colleagues Balazs and Brandon will be the authors and Orshi will be the reviewer. We're logged into my account right now, which you can see down here. And let's start by creating a task for this scenario. We will be doing reference set authoring again, and the task title is to create a diclofenac reference set. And I will use this in the task summary as well. And the reference set will be called diclofenac. Simple type reference set, and the components are SNOMED CT concepts. And now we have to select a scenario. In the previous video we did dual authoring, which meant that both authors were sharing the task of creating a reference set and working on one branch. In the scenario today, the authors will be working on separate branches independently, so they do not see each other's work. Now I need to specify the authors, Balazs and Brandon, and Orshi for the reviewer. And let's submit this task. This dual independent authoring is something that is often used when you're creating mappings. For example, if different experts do the mapping independently, and then you can compare what terms the expert came up with. Another example would be a problem list for cardiology, when different specialists have opinions on what should be included in a cardiology reference set. So let's refresh the task list and take a look at the task that I just created. When you're creating a dual independent authoring task, you're not just creating one task, but there are automatically 3 tasks created. There's a parent task and 2 branches. The reason for this is that we have the 2 authors working independently. So the first author is working on this branch, which has the number 6403, and then the other author is working on the branch with that number. Now let's go to the first author, to Balazs, and take a look what it is, how it is displayed in his view. We can see again the parent task and the 2 subtasks. As you can see, only one of the subtasks has this little white circle, which means Balazs is only able to activate one of those tasks, because the other one is Brandon's task. So now, since this is his subtask, we can open the editor, and we can also see that he is specified as the author here in this subtask. Now let's activate the task. So we have moved from main now to a separate branch. When we activated this task, we can see the name of the task displayed down here. And there is a diclofenac reference set created on this branch. And let's open it. You can see it's empty, and add some members. So Balazs would like to add this concept here. And this one. So I'm adding the concept and the descendants and diclofenac poisoning and the children. So we've added 10 members now. I can also display those as a flat list, and we can see of each of the members individually. If you haven't seen this, this is the reference set editor, which displays a list of the members that are part of the reference set. And if you click on one of them, you can see additional information displayed here, and you could also maximize this. So this would be the information about this concept. If you double click one of those members, you can see the full editor displayed with all the information about this concept. Okay, so let's assume Balazs is done. He added these different clinical findings. He will save his work. And to move the workflow forward to the reviewer, he has to change the status to fixed and save the status change. Now Balazs' work is done. Let's go to Brandon. This is the task here. It's already in his view. This is again the parent task. This is Balazs' task. You can see it's gray because Balazs has already completed his work. And this is Brandon's task, and it has the white circle, which means this is a task that he can activate. Let's open the editor and activate the task. Now we're moving from main again to the branch. And here's the link to the reference set that was just created for Brandon's branch. So this reference set is empty. If you recall the previous video where Brandon and Balazs shared the task of creating a reference set, when Balazs added some members and saved them, Brandon could also see these members that were added by Balazs in his reference set editor. But this was because they were working together on the same branch. Now they're working on separate branches, so each of them has a separate reference set. So Brandon could actually add exactly the same members because he doesn't know what Balazs was doing. Let's do a search for diclofenac. And add adverse reaction and descendants. So these were two concepts that were also added by Balazs. I can also display this as a flat list. And now let's do something different. Let's add some diclofenac products and descendants. So I just added this branch of the hierarchy. So we have 6 members overall, 2 clinical findings and 4 products. And let's say the work is done. Save the work. And now Brandon has to also change the status to fixed. So it's not enough if just one of the authors changes the status, like in the previous video. Since they're both working on separate branches, they both have to mark the task as resolved to move the workflow forward. Okay, now both of their work is done. Now we can move to the reviewer, which is Orshi. This is her account. And here's the task. So we can see both of the authors are done now, and Orshi is going to be working on the parent task because the parent task summarizes the work of both authors, so it brings all of the concepts together that each of them added to a reference set. When we're working in this scenario, we don't need to activate the task. There's actually not even an activation button here. So it's sufficient if Orshi just opens the editor and goes to the Review tab. Let's maximize this view. This is the work of Balazs, who was working on this branch, 6403. And this is the work of Brandon, who was working on the other branch. So Orshi is actually able to see the work of both authors in this table here. These were the products that were added by Brandon, but not by Balazs, and this is why these cells here are empty. These were clinical findings that were only added by Balazs. And these two concepts were added by both authors. So Oshie can instantly see in which cases the authors agree and where they had different opinions on what should be part of the reference set. The rest of the workflow is pretty much the same as in the previous scenarios. We have different buttons to accept or deny. She can use this button to accept all members of the first author, and this button to accept all members by the second author. This button denies all members, and you can, of course, manually change your decision. It's just important that you review all items. So let's assume we would only like to promote the clinical findings, but not the products. So we denied all of the products, and the clinical findings are all accepted for the final reference set. So once this is done, she saves the review, and then we can change the status to mark as verified. If you forgot one of the items, you won't be able to change this to mark as verified. This is how we're making sure that indeed all items are reviewed. And then we need to change the status change. So once this is done, we can promote the task, this button here, and just click it, and that works just like in the previous scenarios that I showed. We're merging from the branch to main, and now the reference set is actually been promoted to main. It's the one that says diclofenac, and if we open it, it has only 10 members, and you can see they are all clinical findings. They all have this heart icon. Of course, you could open it again to take a closer look at each of the concepts, and the products were not promoted because they were denied by the reviewer. That's it for today. In the next video, we will make it even more complicated and add another reviewer. So we will have two authors, two reviewers, and one adjudicator who makes the final decision what is going to be promoted. Thanks for your attention. Bye-bye.